Conservatives ought to be looking to winning by-elections like this, shouldn't they?
Well, I mean, we saw in the election, didn't we, the huge swings, and that was a clear one there where Reform did get those votes off of us. I mean, I think from what I've heard, and this isn't a party position, but just in sort of general conversation, I think the wisdom is this is a fight between Labour and Reform at this particular seat. Again, that's just what I'm hearing around and about rather than my party's perspective on that. I mean, I think the interesting thing is to think, is it doable for them to overtake a 14,500 vote majority to take Labour out? And ultimately, I think we saw some big swings like that in the general election. So, you know, I don't think I'd want to put any money on either side, to be quite honest, because ultimately I think there's the flip question of what does it say if Labour can hold it in terms of where Reform are at too. So it's a test of both sides, a bit like Rhun has already said. You know, it's a test of what Nigel Farage has been trying to achieve since he got into Parliament, and obviously a huge test for the Labour government to see if what they have done is enough to keep people with them, because ultimately it's their seat to lose, isn't it, rather than Reform's to win, perhaps. So, yeah, like I said, I don't think I'd be putting any money on either side at this point in time, because I think it's a tough one.
So you certainly wouldn't be putting any on your party?
Oh, no, I mean, obviously if we were there, I'd be out campaigning to support them. But in terms of what I'm hearing in terms of general wisdom on this seat, is it will be a Reform Labour.
Kiki?
Well, first of all, we've got 4 years to go before we get to the election, so that
not till this one.
No, but to predict what one seat would be either Labour, Reform or whatever right now is, I think, pretty pointless, because we've got another 4 years and goodness knows where we're going to be in 4 years. I think probably, I mean, at the moment, Keir Starmer's looking good. He's taking command of taking command of the peace talks for Zelensky, and I think he's, you know, looking good and prime ministerial and doing all those things. I think Reform are having an argument, and they're probably going to give you down to 4 MPs, not 5. I think maybe Labour might just swing it.
Andrew?
I certainly think Labour will be a bit more confident after the last few days of what's gone on within Reform, and that doesn't look like it's going to abate anytime soon. They've got clear internal warring egos. I don't think it's about anything more than that, really, and that's a problem when you've got a political party that doesn't really have a lot in the way of policy. It has someone to blame, it has a scapegoat, but it doesn't have any serious policies for the country, and that's always the problem with the far right. They'll give you someone to blame, they won't make your life any better. And I hope the people of Runcorn, like I hope people everywhere in Britain, reject that sort of politics generally, and unfortunately it doesn't just reside within Reform. But I think Labour, you know, you look at the opinion polls, Labour's sunk massively since the general election. Keir Starmer's personal ratings, although they've gone up slightly in the last week, it's only slightly and from a very, very low base. So I don't think they can take it for granted, and I'm sure they'll be throwing everything at it. I'm slightly surprised to hear Rebecca kind of almost ruling out the Conservatives.
Well, actually, I've been reflecting on it as you've had this conversation.
You were only narrowly in third.
No, I know.
And I think,
I've been
given
reflecting.
the problems with Reform, I would think the Conservatives might be thinking, well, wait a minute, Labour aren't doing well, Reform are imploding, this is a chance for us. We're only narrowly in third.
Well, and to be fair, I have just been sat here thinking that was probably a bit hasty of me, in as much as, you know...
You didn't just get a text from someone.
No, I didn't. I'll probably get it later. I think actually it's worth reflecting a little bit on what's been mentioned in terms of local elections already, and actually I'm probably just being a bit glass half empty on a Monday evening, but actually when you look at the local government election results that we've had since the general election, we are actually miles ahead of Reform in terms of winning seats, and Labour are doing abysmally, as you've just said. So, you know, for all of those seats that Reform have fought as a local election where they've thrown the kitchen sink at it, I think I read these figures right today. Labour, we've won 23, Reform have won 12, and Labour are down 35. So actually, I think I was a bit too sitting on the fence. Maybe actually the statistics there show that it is something we should take seriously.
And I think it's really important as well, isn't it?
I think it's really important to reflect on what is being said. I'm a journalist by profession. I know that there's an excitement among journalists about what Reform might be able to do, looking forward to the next local elections in England next year, the next UK general election all those years away. Will they be able to win power? The same as in Wales, looking forward to next year. There's a different story than that that going on. Yeah, the latest big poll, after Labour winning elections for 102 years, has Plaid Cymru in the lead, in a position to be able to take power from Labour, a party with a track record of fighting sort of for fairness, for equality, progression, a more prosperous society, and a more equitable. Well, no, we're the ones challenging to remove Labour from that. Well, I've never sought to keep Labour in power because I'm the leader of Plaid Cymru. Why would I want to do that? What you do in a proportional system is where you don't have a party with a majority, you have to find a way of making government work. That's all that Plaid Cymru has done, representing the people that we serve, influencing government. But it's Plaid Cymru in Wales that's in the position, with our full suite of policies on health, on education, on growing the economy, that represents the real option for change, not reform.